Welcome to the Corey Jones Show. I am your host, Corey Jones, and I'm here with Wayne Brown, a decorated veteran, former Navy SEAL, practicing attorney in the state of New Jersey, and a patriot, someone who stands for worthy causes, and which we'll learn all about today. And there's some personal struggles right now that Bill's going through that we also want to talk about, and his patriotism, heroism, and his dedication to country, his friends, his family, will definitely shine through. So Bill, welcome to the show, brother.
Proud to be here. Thank you, Corey.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So tell me, first, you initiated the New York City SEAL Swim.
Right.
So can you tell me about that?
You know, it's kind of like it's a great, I call it adventure therapy, where you get a lot of great American men and women who love our country, SEALs, veterans, police officers, firefighters, and we get together, and every year in around August, as close as I can to the anniversary of Extortion 17, August 6th, we do an epic event where we start off at Liberty State Park, we swim to the Statue of Liberty, we do 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups there for our nation's freedoms and civil liberties. Then we swim to Ellis Island, we do 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups there to honor our nation's diversity, salute all the men and women who came to our nation for a better life. We swim across the Hudson at Lower Manhattan, South Cove Marina. We get up there, get high and dry, get a full head count. We get a bunch of American flags. We run into the World Trade Center, and there we do our last set of honor push-ups, 100 push-ups and 22 pull-ups, to honor all those lost in 9/11 and all those who put it on the line for our country. You've been a part of that, Corey. And you know, we send a positive, patriotic message of unity for our whole country to see. We set a positive example of the character of the men and women in the SEAL teams, the military, law enforcement, and firefighters. And every year we send a positive message out there that I think our nation really needs to see. You know, including during COVID, we didn't stop, we kept going, we sent that message out. And I really try to have a positive message, and that's my focus. And one of the other things, you know, sometimes good men and good women have to make a hard stand. And you and I have both making some hard stands right now where it's not so popular to support Israel. But in my opinion, I don't know after October 7th and the atrocities that were committed, how I could not. So I proudly support Israel. And you were with me, and we helped raise a substantial amount of funds in a tactical course you helped me teach. And I thought it was a real positive message and doing a good thing. And so that's kind of like, you know, the type of advocacy I like to. But I also thoroughly believe in our nation. I believe, Corey, I believe in the values of our Constitution. I believe in life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I believe in equality. I believe in due process. These are things that I believe our Constitution, the values in the Constitution, they were right. They were right then, and they were right today. Now, were our founders flawed? Extremely flawed. Was slavery wrong? Extremely wrong. But our nation's taken huge measures to live up to those ideals transcribed in the Constitution. Civil War, hundreds of thousands of Americans were killed. You had the civil rights movements. We had great American leaders that rose up and helped us correct course to live up to the values in those constitutions. The women's suffrage movement, again, we had great leaders, American leaders rise up and set the right way for everyone. The gay and lesbian movement, the same way. But unfortunately, I think now we've taken a back step. And I think one of the things that happened is that now there's actually infringements on free speech. And a lot of things I believe in the open market of ideas and free speech. To me, if you don't have free speech, what right do you really have? If you don't have the ability to talk about something you truly believe in, something that affects your life every day, then what right do you really have? Are you really free if you can't freely express yourself? Now, I believe one of the things about capitalism, one of the reasons why the American economy was so strong, is because the best products were more successful. Right? The best ideas are more successful. And that's what I believe about the open market of ideas.
Right.
If you have opinion and I have opinion and our opinions differ in some ways, let we the people decide. But one of the things I think that's recently happened now, and it really, I think, took root during COVID. And I think one of the things that's scary in times of emergency, sometimes the exercise of emergency powers, it doesn't stop with the emergency. And so I can't tell you how many of my friends, guys who served this country with honor, they had issues with the COVID mandates, right? Think about some of those mandates, how many businesses they infringed. Think about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. If your restaurant shut down or your gym shut down, that affects your ability, your own ability to have a livelihood. But yet you couldn't question the mandates, you couldn't question the science behind the vaccines, or and a lot of times, you were shunned. If you didn't get a vaccine in a lot of businesses, you were unemployed. Your businesses were shut down. You were shut down on big tech. And there's a lot of issues that happened here. Now, one of the things that happened is I think there was gross misuse of government power. And one of the reasons I think that is because you look at some of the documents that Elon Musk released after he acquired Twitter. And he showed that government agents repeatedly corresponded with Twitter representatives to ensure a certain message was out there, and counter messages were basically minuted.
So let me, there's always a pushback whenever I have this discussion with people, and I want to push back a little bit on that. Let's say that the government truly did believe, 100% believed, or at least the top leadership in the government believed that the science was right, the vaccines were effective, and the mandates were necessary. Would you then afford them a little more latitude to collude with big tech and social media to mitigate the likelihood that negative messaging or could cause people to not heed the government warnings?
Do I think the government has the right in any circumstances to muzzle the voice of we the people? That answer is no.
Okay.
My second response would be this. It's if the government's going to, because one of the things that happens, right, is the First Amendment only applies to the government. And the way it's constitutionally interpreted, unless there's joint activity between the government and that private entity. So this way, if my freedom of expression is infringed by a private entity, I don't necessarily have civil recourse unless I can show joint activity between the government and the private entity. When the government's hand is not seen, there's an issue. There's a lot of issues, right? Because you think about how much influence the government has on every business industry and every individual. That's a lot of coercive power. And if that's not actively seen, the restraints on free will and liberty can be substantial. And so, okay, if the facts now show that that's not the case, but let's say that was the case. Okay, be transparent about your actions. Be transparent that you mandated these different big technical organizations, and not just big technical organizations, many corporations, many industries, of the appropriate behavior that they basically pursued.
Mm-hmm.
So that we the people know, that we the people have the ability to weigh the situation.
Right.
And if it's abusive, then we the people have the right to hold those accountable.
Right.
Right? That's not the case now. And so so one of the things that happened to me, right,
Mm-hmm.
is, so I'm a free thinker, right? I'm a free thinker. And I think it's important to have free thinkers. I realize I'm an unorthodox thinker. I evaluate things. I've had some experiences that are unique in some ways.
Okay. Do we want to bring this to this specific event at your past employer?
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Please.
So I was an attorney at McCarter English, which is the oldest and largest law firm in the state of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a post, and I'll read the post so your audience,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, what I believe what a good lawyer does and what a good advocate does,
Mm-hmm.
I am not trying to impose my perspective. I believe in open market ideas. Like a lawyer, I want to present my case, and I want your audience to weigh it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And so the first is, here is the four corners of my post. It goes, I was a first responder to 2 suicide bombings in Iraq, and those experiences had an impact on my perspective. There are many beautiful and tolerant Muslims, but the textual language within the Quran is far from tolerant. In the 90s, the promotion of antisocial values and the glorification of violence and drugs portrayed in gangster rap had a huge negative influence on many young and easily impressible American black youth. The pursuit of negative values leads to a trap, with the real result being a great loss of not even beginning to maximize one's personal growth potential. It's my opinion that there's also a radical culture within the Islamic world that promotes antisocial values and glorifies violence. This has had a devastating impact on millions of young and easily influenced lives. The internet and ease of travel traversed us all into an increasingly smaller and greater connected global society. As a global society, we need to use the internet and our educational institutions to promote unity and self and collective societal improvement. These are the cornerstone steps we need to take in order to maximize our individual and collective growth potential. The alternative to taking these proactive steps is that as a global society, like the young woman depicted in this video, we have the potential to destroy ourselves. And the video basically was a documentary on women in Hamas who attempted to or were connected with suicide bombings. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I thought that the video showed is it showed that here was women, and in my opinion, because of the ideals promoted in radical Islam, they literally wanted to destroy themselves and others. Mm-hmm. And so that's the post.
Okay, so that's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
I'm going to let that settle in with our viewers. We're going to take a break, and we come back, and we're going to unpack that together.
Okay.
Okay. Bill, thanks for sharing that. That was a lot of information. So thanks for being so open and sharing that. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay with the Corey Jones Show.
Some say the world has never been more divided, more self-centered,
Gosh, thank you so much.
more uncaring,
Thank you. Oh, miss! Thank you.
that we've never been more disconnected. But through our windows, we're able to see so much good every day. And it's clear that a little kindness
All right, thanks for sticking with us. This is the Corey Jones Show. I am your host, Corey Jones. I'm here with William Brown, a friend, retired Navy SEAL, patriot, an attorney, and he just got done reading to us verbatim for us a social media post that he put on LinkedIn talking about some issues that he sees in society, and that actually had a negative effect on you. Can you talk about that, please?
Sure. My firm, McCarter English, my previous firm, they had some issues with some of my other posts. Now, in my opinion, they weren't politically neutral because they had numerous posts regarding the indictments of Trump. Mm-hmm. Now, in my opinion, I think there's an issue when you have the most likely Republican nominee has, I believe it's 91 felony counts and 4 different criminal charges. Mm-hmm. I think that's a huge question mark regarding the politicization, weaponization of our prosecuting and judicial systems. And to be sincere with you, as an attorney who's gone through law school, the law schools are very left. And I think, in my opinion, if you're not left or you're vocal about your opinions not being left, a couple things are affected. Your possibility, your grades, your GPA, your possibility to get internships, clerkships. Mm-hmm. So the smart tactical move in those type of situations, if those aren't the beliefs that you espouse, is to keep that in your pocket. That bleeds into our big law firms, 100% in my opinion, 100%. And that also bleeds in, unfortunately, I believe, into our criminal systems and also our judicial systems. And I'm very concerned about that.
Okay.
And so, in my opinion, McCarter English had strong differences of political opinions than myself, and to be sincere with you, a lot of their own employees who were, in my opinion, a lot of them were concerned about speaking up at the face of their own career.
So is it safe to say that you felt there was pressure from your employer to be quiet if you didn't come along with the mainstream media or their mainstream way of thinking? Did they make this openly, or was it just kind of like hush hush, everybody just kind of understood it? Did they call you into an office and say, don't be posting stuff like this anymore?
Well, there's some series of that. So for 6 years and 10 months, I was substantially paid less than the majority of the other associates. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to advocate for myself. And so I make a post on LinkedIn, and where I post a picture of Rambo. Mm-hmm. And it's Rambo, and it's in the beginning of the movie, and the sheriff, Rambo's just walking down the highway, and the sheriff is giving him a hard time and basically doesn't want him in the town. And in that post, I go, sometimes movies reflect reality. The sheriff who tried to pressure the war veteran to leave Hopetown reminds me of similar patterns I see being played out today. So many of us are paid substantially less for the same work as others, and then pressured out and denied opportunities when we speak up for ourselves. That's the exact post I made. Mm-hmm. And it's true, I am a combat veteran Navy SEAL, but I'm an attorney. And no way did I ever threaten any type of violence in that post whatsoever. I was advocating for myself because I was paid substantially less for the same work as other associates. And I believe it's because I am a conservative, unorthodox Navy SEAL thinker who exercises his First Amendment right. Mm-hmm. And so I get called in by Joe Baccassini, who's the managing partner in the entire firm. Mm-hmm. and the Adam Survey, who's their employment lawyer. And they're asking me questions like, am I okay? We're concerned. We know how this movie ends. Now, think about the negative stereotypes that they jumped on there. And think about how I felt here. Here I am advocating for myself and in a way that shows, like, look, and because what I felt in the SEAL teams, and when you go through BUD/S, Basic Underwater Demolition Training, there's an acronym called DOR. It means drop out on request. And one of the things that happens when you go through that training, especially first phase, which is so physically demanding, a lot of guys DOR. In my opinion, the firm was trying to get me to do, McCarter English was trying to get me to DOR for a long time. One, by paying me substantially less. But I'm in a commercial litigation bankruptcy group. Towards the end, the majority of the cases I was getting assigned were defense cases for sexual molestations of minors. Now, I'm a father of a little girl. In my opinion, that was putting my nose in shit. It's some of the hardest things I ever had to deal with, Corey. But I believe in due process. So that's how I looked myself in the mirror. I said, I believe in due process. Everybody deserves a right to a fair representation in a court of law. Now, at the same time, I have a friend of mine, Shannon Rose. He's a SEAL. He's got a son. They practice their First Amendment right to free assembly and free speech, and they go to the January 6th march. They don't go in the Capitol, but they're in the march. They get contacted by the FBI. My friend is scared. He's scared for him. He's scared for his son. He's afraid he might face federal charges. He reaches out to me. He asked me to be his lawyer. I said, Shannon, I love you, brother, but this isn't my area of the law. I said, let me reach out to some attorneys at McCarter English. We have some former federal prosecutors there who do this type of defense stuff, similar type of defense, not necessarily this. Right. I said, maybe they, and I said, hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they're left, in my opinion, but at least maybe I can get a good, recommendation, because it's not my sphere of influence. I don't associate with those type of attorneys on a day-to-day, but these guys are subject matter experts, and they've done it for years. So I reach out to Robert Mintz, who's a former federal prosecutor at McCarter English. He's also an equity partner, and he runs the Newark office. He makes repeated posts in the Washington Post, various blogs, on his assessments on the Trump indictments, which in my opinion are all anti-Trump, the vast majority. I reach out to him, I said, hey, give the circumstance, my buddy's a SEAL, he's jammed up, can you help him, can the firm help him? If not, can you guys recommend an attorney? So he punched the football, and he connects me to Alex, oh man, I forget his name. Alex Major, I believe his name is. Okay. And he's a partner, and he's out of the Washington office for the government contracts. And he's also a veteran. I know this because he's the only veteran on their D&I committee, which I asked to be on, and they denied me. And they said, well, Alex is on that committee. Okay. So and then he says to me, he goes, basically, he says, he's not even going to pretend like he's interested in even recommending an attorney. So to me, if you're an attorney, right, one of the things that should be important to you as an officer of the court is due process. And so here I had three partners at McCarter English that were copied on that. I had Alex Major, I had Bob Mintz, who runs the Newark office, and then I had Jeff Rosemond, who's a former prosecutor. Not one of them would even recommend an attorney for my friend who was a Navy SEAL, served our country with honor. And so there's like 100, I didn't even get the polite FU, I got the straight FU. And so the temperature and this is New Jersey.
So tell me about that day. Tell me about that event when they asked you to leave. We're getting close to where our time's going to be coming up here. Tell me about that event, because I know that was pretty traumatic.
It was. So what happened is They called me in, and they said that my post that I read, they said it represented, I was portraying blacks and Muslims, promoting black, negative stereotypes of blacks and Muslims, which is not true. Okay, what is, you can look at, even recently, Ice Cube came out and was talking, made similar type of statements that I did in my post, how the record labels for profit were basically, in my opinion, pimping out these artists to promote negative values that absolutely had a huge negative impact on so many lives. Because I was a young guy, I got caught up in some of that stuff, winded up in a detention center, Navy saved my life. I was in the detention center with a bunch of young black guys. Their compass was dialed in wrong. And a lot of it had to do with this garbage that was being put out there by these record label companies. And 100%. And this, in my opinion, look, I met Antonin Scalia at the Union Club, and he's a former Supreme Court justice. Now, he had a very novel but simple way in interpreting the Constitution. And that is basically you take it by the plain language in the Constitution, just the plain language. And there are many beautiful Muslims and tolerant Muslims, but Corey, the language in the Quran is not tolerant. I'll read one verse. And this is Quran chapter 9, verse 5. Slay the pagans wherever you find them. Capture them, besiege them, and lie in wait with them in every ambush. And they called that the verse of the sword. Now, if you think about that language there, it sounds pretty similar to exactly what happened on October 7th in Israel. Right? Now, we live in a global society. The internet, not just the internet, the way we can travel. I've been around the world 3 times. Right? We're so connected now. And so what my message was actually a message of unity. In order for us all to expand our growth potential, we need as a society to address this. The truth is the language in the Quran is not tolerant. And here's the truth. Right? When you say the Prophet Muhammad, if you're a Muslim, because I took Islamic law and jurisprudence and 2 years of Arabic in my undergrad, and because I've dealt with jihadists overseas, and I'll be honest, I knew I had hate in my heart because I've seen real atrocities, and I've lost some really good, beautiful brothers. Right? I knew I had hate in my heart, and I wanted to figure it out and balance it out. And one of the things that helped me is I had a lot of Muslim Arabic students, because I was like a knuckle sandwich trying to learn Arabic, go out of the way to try to help me. I had interpreters that I worked with over there. Like, there's no doubt there's beautiful Muslims, but the truth is the language not. And here's also the truth. When you say the Prophet Muhammad, if you're a Muslim, they hold him with great reverence. And after they even say that, they say, peace be upon him, right? Here's also the truth. If you look at the example set by Muhammad, he spread Islam by the sword. Now, that's the truth. He was a jihadist. Right? The truth is, as an intellectual, educated society, as we the people here with technology, we got to address this. We have to be real. There's a reason why we have these repeated patterns. And that's what I'm trying to get at the grassroots. You know that gangster rap culture destroyed millions of American lives? Now, there was record labels made billions off of it, but it destroyed families. It was a root cause for a lot of harm. And the truth, we need to address, we got to be real with it. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to be real with it. I didn't promote negative stereotypes of blacks or Muslims. I said the truth.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have been, and like I said, we're getting close to the end of our time here. And I would just want to thank you for bringing me into your circle. Initially, as friends, I remember coming to your house to celebrate your graduation from law school, right? I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy's a Navy SEAL, and he wants to be friends with me. I mean, you still are, like in superhero status to me. The training, your values, your stance, unwavering. You see a mission, you attack it, and you handle it.
Well, I feel the same way about you. You represent the African American community with honor. You represent law enforcement community with honor. And now here you are. Look, it takes courage for you to even have me on this show and talk about such controversial things. It took courage for you to advocate for Israel that takes courage. And that's how can I not respect you? How can I not consider you one of my best friends because of the caliber of the person you are? And you know what? That's what MLK did. That's the example. I learned from MLK, judge others by their character. When I think about the real takeaway from Christianity, it's the golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated.
Right. Bill, we are at the end of time, but I definitely want to end on that quote of positivity from Dr. King is you judge each other by the content of the character, not the color of their skin. And I believe that's how our relationship has been. And I agree with you that that's how the world needs to run. So again, I want to thank you. Thank you. And where can people go? Do you have a LinkedIn? Or how can people find you so they can keep up with your battle here?
Hey guys, you know what? When good people come together and we have courage to stand up, we're all better off. And I know that courage emboldens more courage. And nothing is lost so long as good men and women are willing to stand up. So you look at the example of me and Corey, two beautiful Americans who love our nation and love our people. And we have the courage to stand up for what we believe in. And I pray that you do as well. Feel free to check me out on IG, Freedom Spirit 77, or on LinkedIn. You can just search William Brown, Navy SEAL. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Stay safe and come back for the next episode of The Corey Jones Show.